If you want to avoid cowboy builders on your next refurbishment project, you're going to want to follow the formula I'm going to share in this video. So I'm Harvey, remote property investor, and I've done hundreds of refurbishments over 250 miles away from where I live. And the biggest and single most challenging thing in being a property investor is the refurbishment element of it. So I'm going to share with you a formula that I use to qualify or disqualify the builders. The refurbishment can be the difference between a profitable and non-profitable project. Just because you've got a budget for a project and just because it can be delivered in that budget doesn't mean the builder that you've got is going to be able to deliver on that. There's loads of variables that can happen. The builder can go bust. The builder can take on too many other projects and extend the time scale of your project. The builder can hire a shoddy tradesman on his team who ruin stuff on your job and not take responsibility for that. So there's lots and lots of variables that go on with the build. It is the thing that you get earn your money, but don't be scared of it. Embrace it. But I'm going to show you a methodology for you to adopt so you can navigate this a lot more efficiently. And if you're curious to see what a refurb looks like managed from 250 miles away, have a watch of this video because I turn up and I go around a project telling you what I look out for, and at the end of the video it shows you the end result after the work's finished. But let's dive in. It's all about finding the correct builders. So like with anything, I believe there's good and bad in any trade you'll get, whether it's a doctor, a builder, a lawyer, a saucer, a coach. Everything comes with good and bad versions. As long as there's a human being involved, you're going to get good and bad version of that. Boyfriends, girlfriends, the list goes on. So it's about identifying the right people for you where you are in your project. There's a few things you need to look out for. I've got this 80-10-10 principle. So if you took a pie chart like this, I've got faith in human beings. So imagine like this pie chart here. I believe literally about 10% max, maybe 5 to 10%, depending on what industry it's in, are out to straight off rip you off. I believe most people got good intentions. Obviously, the higher barrier to entry to job involved, the lower the percentage of people that rip you off. And what I mean by that is doctors take 4 years to become a doctor. So there's a lower proportion of people that go through that process because it weeds out them people. You know, where with a builder, they can just buy a van, get some indemnity insurance, sometimes not even indemnity insurance, and they can just get up and go straight away. So it's a low barrier to entry. They don't even need a van, they can just chuck the tools in the back of their car. So there's a low barrier to entry. So it doesn't weed out and shake out some of the non-effort people, because this is exactly this. Out of the 90% that's left here, I believe only around 10% of those can deliver on their good intentions. And good intentions can be found in everybody. I believe most people got this. So some people, because they're lazy, they don't deliver on their good intentions. Some people, it's because they're unorganized, especially with builders. This happens a lot. And most businesses as well, by the way, not just builders. I'm not just having a dig at builders, but they take on too much work. And a lot of builders that you find, like this is a common cycle that's happened to me with builders, is they start off small, they're on site themselves, they hire a couple of labourers and they subby out a few trades and they do the jobs themselves on site. Then you throw them a bit more work and they go, oh, I can take on more work. And then they become not a builder anymore, they become a project manager and a hirer and a business owner. If you've never read the book E-Myth, I would suggest you read that because it's applicable to all businesses. But because they're great on site when they've got their labourer with them and they're doing the job, it's very different when they're not on site anymore and they're running multiple jobs, and then they've took away probably one of their best, hardest working people themselves out from them projects, and now they're trying to be an employer, a manager, HR, all these other things that go with running a business. So this is a common thing I've seen with builders and lots of business as well, not just builders, as I said, is they take on more and more projects and then they become the project manager, and they're not a project manager, they're a builder. But in the rare cases, you do get some people in this 90%, this 90% left here, some of these are just not good at what they think they're good at. The amount of builders I have come on site who really criticize other people's work, and you look at their work, it's not great. Most people have not got the self-awareness to know their level of how good they are. Think about it like this. How many bad drivers have you seen on the roads, but yet how many people do you know admit they're a bad driver? Most people can't admit when they're not good at something, especially if it's their trade. How many jobs have you been in where everybody in the office thinks they're really good and they're smart, I'm not stupid, and you think to yourself, you're not really doing much to show me any different. This is the nature of people. So everybody thinks they're better than they are in most cases. Everybody is vying for this 10%. So it's very, very difficult. And there's trade-offs with this. So what you want to do is, I've put together this formula. You've got to look at it like this. So think of it like this at this end, this chart like this. At this end here, we've got Bob over here, the builder, who's very, very happy because Bob charges £800 a day. So Bob's happy, he's getting good work. He doesn't need to pack out his diary too much because ultimately he's getting a good wage for his day's labour. He works on high-end projects, he gets a good wage. Then you've got Bill over here that is not so happy because Bill charges £100 a day. And now Bill is trying to take on every single little bit of work he can to make up his money, which then leaves him stretched, tired, complacent, mistakes and stuff like happen. Bill has got equally good intentions as Bob over here, but the reality is much more difficult for Bill to do anything with his low wage than it is Bob over here. So first of all, you need to identify the style projects that you are doing, and you need to then identify the style builder, because you might think, look, Bill over here is super organized, invoices, itemizations of work, really good communication. He's got a PA or a secretary in the office that does all the invoicing. Bill is the full package, but it comes with a premium. Bob, sorry. Bob is virgin, Bill is Ryanair. You cannot expect virgin quality with Ryanair money. Every now and again, you get a talented person at this end of the market, but it's because they're starting out often, and when they start out, they're desperate for work. They do low prices because they're scared they won't win the work. But then what happens is their capacity soon fills up because they're very good, and then they get word of mouth, and then before you know it, they're shifting this way up this equation. So you have to work out, what style builder do I need? And different style projects will need different style builders. If you're doing a Chelsea or a Mayfair project, you're gonna need these style builders. If you're doing the bottom end projects, I wouldn't go for these builders, but I'd go somewhere in between. And I had this, like, think of it on your project. So when you look at an area, and I've got other videos on this, picking your gold mine location, so have a watch of that video. But when I go over gold mine location, I do the same again. Every area has macro and microeconomics. Think of it like the Monopoly board. You've got your Old Kent Road and you've got your Mayfair. You've got higher end, lower end, and areas in the middle. So if you got your location, and this is your location here, if you said this was Mayfair and this was Old Kent Road, you have to look, what style houses are you buying? So for me, I think the sweet spot is not in the middle over here, not in the middle. I think the sweet spot is here. So let's put a nice red spot underneath this for sweet spot. This is where you get long-term tenants for single let properties, but your sweet spot might be here for professional HMOs, for example, or it might be a bit further down here for social housing. So you've got to measure where your sweet spot is and what style properties you are doing, because then you can reverse engineer it. Because similar again on this chart, it mirrors itself up here. If you're doing these style, sweet spot buy to let sort of properties, you want your builder to be here. So then that is more looking like, for me, anything from like 180 a day to £200 a day on average for labour. So you do this accordingly. So then if I'm doing a higher end HMO and I want it a bit more end-to-end done, and higher end builders that can understand programs of works and CDM and all these different things that go in with that, I'm going to want a builder up here probably more like 250 to 350 per day. So it is relevant to where you're at. You cannot get these cheaper. At least the thing with this builder over here as well is he's doing all his own paperwork, he's doing all his own invoicing, all his own quotes and all this other stuff. So it's going to be a challenge with that. So what I suggest you do is figure out what style project you want first of all, and then you figure out what builder you want. If you look in an area, what I look at is I look at the average day rate for them builders. Just Google it and it'll come up from average day rate. Then you can figure out what that is, and then you can figure yourself, do I want to go to the higher end of the day rates or lower end of the day rates? And then you can reverse engineer your pricing on your jobs as well. But once you've figured out what style build you want, that you've got to identify that straight away, you can then go about trying to find the builder. And then what you do is you go on places like Facebook is great. Go in the local Facebook groups and look in there. Places like building merchants and online portals. Online portals like Checker Trade, Rated People, they're great for finding builders, and all this can be done remotely. As I said, I've done loads of refurbs 250 miles from where I live. I remember a guy I know, get on well with him, he was saying, don't do remote refurbs. I see one that looks like the worktops are being cut by their teeth. The wall was put in the wrong place for a partition wall. And guess what? I've had all these things go wrong. But guess what? I've had a refurb going on. Well, I converted my ensuite into a nursery, or chopped it in half because I had a massive ensuite and converted that into a nursery. And guess what? I was sitting downstairs in the office and there was things that went wrong on that. So unless you're sitting on the shoulder of the builder all day, there will be things go wrong. So you just got to take that kind of on the chin. For me, what I suggest people doing is the type of refurbs you're doing should be relevant to where you are in your journey. If you've not watched the property Delta Matrix and what strategy you should do, watch this video here. Because what I advise most people, if you've not done refurbs before, if you're not already a builder, if you've not got transferable skills, I say the keep it simple, stupid strategy, the KISS strategy. Because the KISS strategy is lighter refurbs on your first refurb, whether it's far away or closer to home. And what you do to keep on top of these is you just have lots of pictures, whether it's close or far away. Again, you just get lots and lots of pictures and progress reports, video walkthroughs, just to make sure that you're tracking them and seeing what they're doing. But that's too in depth for this video, I'll be doing another video on managing a refurb, but this is just finding your builder. And then once you found your builder, what you want to do is get on the phone to them. You want to figure out what your day rate is, and you want to say to them, hey, I'm happy to pay a day rate around this amount of money for these style projects, and be specific what you want. Is it something you could achieve? Like, for example, give them an example. I've got a kitchen, I've got a guy, usually takes 4 days to fit it. Could you do it £200 a day labour, £800 to fit 8 units? If the answer is yes, pop out, give me a quote. If the answer is no, then ultimately, and you're £300, £400, £500 a day, then ultimately I'm not going to waste your time or my time to get you out there to do that. So it's a fair thing to say, and you say it in the right tone. They understand that. Some get a little bit shirty, but you just know it's not the right person now. And then how you do this is volume. You've got to speak to lots and lots and lots of builders. You'll phone up 10 builders and only 4 would answer. And out of 4 that answer, only 1 will end up quoting you. So it's a volume game. You want to continuously do this. Then once you've negotiated with somebody and you then get them to go and actually quote for you, at that stage, you then, in the background, check their work, check their reviews, try and speak to other people that's worked with them, check them out to make sure they've got their indemnity insurance and stuff like that. And then when they come back, what you say to them is, hey, I want weekly photos, updates. I can't always get to the projects. Either I'm far away or I'm local and I can't always get to the projects. I want these updates and I want everything in writing, agreed. I'll put together the program of works, which I suggest you do. And I will then get an agreement specification, which I suggest you do. Make sure you go there and tell them exactly what you want. And then say, look, we need it in agreement and on a time scale, is it okay? And if builders are not okay with that, then ultimately they're just disqualified themselves. And again, you say to them, I'll pay a week wages up front, so you've always got money on hand, but then I'll pay the rest on milestones and I'll supply all the goods. And again, if a builder's not happy with that, then ultimately that's a red flag straight away. I would advise never pay builders 50% up front, because when they've got the money in their pocket, again, it goes back to good intentions. They've got best intentions, but often this is a big challenge you have. A builder will be doing your work, and not, say you've got bridging lending on it and it's costing you money while it sits empty. They'll be doing your work, and then 3 doors up, one of the neighbours go, oh, my boiler's broke down. So they go, wow, a boiler, we could charge. They're a retail customer, not like a wholesale customer like us who are investors. So they're going to think we could probably charge you 2 grand's labour. What do? Do we carry on this job which we've already got, or do we walk up the road and do the 2 grand's worth of labour? The reality is they go and do the 2 grand's worth of labour because they can't say to them, oh, we'll come and fix that in 2 weeks' time, because it's a boiler. They need to be fixed that day. And that's the biggest challenge, especially neighbours putting their head over the walls, nicking the guys off you. That's why you want a program based on milestones. As I said, I'll do other videos around this, but make sure you get that in place and get them to agree that. If they don't, it is a massive red flag. If you want to know more about costing a refurb, make sure you watch this video here. And if you are still here, make sure you smash that subscribe button, that bell icon. Really does help the page. My wife's living my terms. My mission is to help as many people live on their terms, using property as a vehicle to do that. So if you help me by sharing this out, that'd be absolutely great. I'll be absolutely grateful for that. But remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, you'll never live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms, have an amazing day, and watch this video that YouTube thinks is going to be best for you next.